Hello and welcome back to the Behind the Talent podcast. I am your host, Goldinis, joined once again by Pyro. And, how you doing, Pyro?
I'm alright today. Just been relaxing for an hour between this exam and this podcast here today, so quite chill at the moment.
Exam go well?
Let's not talk about that.
Fair enough. We are joined once again by another very special guest. It is Ikoxe from Goldinis in the minor division. Currently, doing pretty well for yourself on the table. Always fragging out, always putting up the big kills. But thank you for joining us, Ikoxe. How you doing?
Hello. First of all, thank you for the invite, guys. Really appreciate that. And yeah, I'm doing good.
It's lovely to have you on here. Last week, obviously, we had a coaching, well, part of the analyst, for Laburnum Gaming in the Major League. So this week, we'll just take some time to talk about maybe what we can see coming through the minor. But let's start with a little bit about you, Ikoxe. How did you end up playing competitive Siege? What led you to where you are now?
It's a really long journey. Like, I started playing Siege back in the days on PS4 and Play Guys. And then there was like the first competitive scene on Twitch and this stuff. And I was watching it.
Yeah.
And after it, I saw it, I said to me, I want to play comp. I want to get high in this game. That's why I switched to PC back in like end of Void Edge.
Okay.
And now I'm playing 2 years on PC, and of this 2 years, I'm playing like 1.5. I'm playing comp now.
How did you kind of get into the comp scene when you swapped to PC then? Because you were playing with people, you said you were playing with friends before. So did your friends transfer over with you, or did you kind of start looking for Discords and other people to team up with?
No, I started solo. Only with friends, a bit of ranked experience with him, but he won't be able to play Siege, and that's why I switched to, like, I met some new friends, and with them I started to do my first team, and after it I met Zerok, and like with him I had my first really competitive team. Like over 1 or 2 other teams, I'm now here.
What would you say to up-and-comers trying to get into the comp scene? Because obviously if you're in sort of these networks already, let's say for example uni, you have these sort of outlets that you can go to. Obviously you didn't have that. So what would you say to new and up-and-coming players coming into the scene?
Get some friends, go on Discords where there are many Siege players. You need to get people who can play this game with you, and then just start playing it. You will meet friends over the time.
Is that how this Goldinis roster that you're now with formed then? Was that sort of just different people who you'd met or seen around just playing other comp Siege, and just eventually just decided, you know what, we're going to bring all the pieces together and just start fragging out?
Yes and no. The core roster of the lineup is obviously Fallen, Brumbashi, and Fams. They are playing like 1 year in a team now. And me and Laskilla joined them 2 months ago now. We are from all different teams, but we're really good with each other, so the harmony is quite good. So I think it's hard to say, but like, we're coming from different teams.
Yeah, but it all just kind of works out well together, and I take it you all get on pretty well, which is always ideal. Before we jump too much further into the minor league, we'll quickly just give you the rundown of what's happened in this last week. So Pyro, can you enlighten us on all the major activities?
Starting with the Major League, obviously, as that is the major of the major leagues. So for the first game, we have Praetorian. I know that was very beautiful saying
the
there.
Major of the major leagues.
Let's go. Hey. So we had first game, we had Praetorian versus Vivid United, and that was a 2-0 victory for Praetorian there, going 7-4 on Oregon and 7-4 on Clubhouse. Then for the second game, we have a 2-0 victory for Loud Esports against Humble Academy there. And that was a 7-4 on Oregon and a 7-5 on Bank. So we're seeing a lot of 7-5s here. It's starting to come into realization here. So next game we had is 2-0 QVG versus Ultrac Esports. That was 7-5 on Bank. Second time in a row we've seen Bank this week. And 7-4 on Oregon. That's 3 times we've seen Oregon. All the times have been 7-4. Now for Game 4, we had 2-0 victory for Maestria Esports against Vega Esports. So that was a 7-2 on Chalet and a 7-5 on Oregon. And then the Game 5, which we actually saw yesterday, which was me and Golu who casted that, was Machine Soldiers versus Laburnum Gaming. finally got it correct, and that was a 7-3 on Oregon and a 7-3 on theme parks. There's two 7-3s back to back, and obviously that was the first theme park we saw for season 7.
Yeah, it's been fun seeing some new maps, or some of the maps which are less conventional and less popular, kind of rising up in popularity just a little bit. I wouldn't really say theme parks now a mainstay for the league, but to see it once was good fun to see. Bit defender-sided though, so it'd be interesting to see if maybe that will change as teams kind of figure it out. Cox, have you got a thought on these kind of other maps? You're looking at your borders, which have just newly been added in, the theme park, skyscraper as well. Or are these maps that you guys you're not a massive fan of?
From my experience, like Border and Theme are not good maps. Still not good maps for comp. I don't like them to play them. Yeah. Like the one map is attack-sided, the other map is completely defense-sided. And the only good map is Sky. Like I love Sky. It's for me it's the new Villa and the better Villa. Okay. But the other two maps are not for me.
What is it about Sky that you really like? Is it just the depth of it, or what draws you to it? Were you a fan of the old skyscraper as well? Is that something that maybe influences your opinion now?
No, the old Sky was not good. But on the new Sky, you can attack from every side. You can go from the back side. You can go directly on side. You have many opportunities to push aside, and I think that's why the map is quite good at the moment.
A lot of creative freedom. We'll jump very quickly onto the recap of the minor week. So we had, 3 games were forfeited. So Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs forfeited to YOD Esports. We had Atten Esports win because Visu forfeited to them. And in our most recent game, Team Invictum forfeited to your team, Ikoxe Goldinis. The game was played, but it's now been retroactively fitted to a forfeit with some rules tinkering here and there. And we have one more game that was played, which was the Lawless versus Nerf Minor. Nerf Minor were top of the scoreboard, and they were looking to see if they could just extend their gap at the top, but after a draw with Lawless, they are less ahead than they would have liked to be, and now are sitting at, that extra point gives them from the draw, right? So not quite as far, you're catching up, and now with that forfeit win, I believe you overtake them as well.
Yeah, I believe that is correct. It goes 3 points for the forfeit win, it would be, so...
Did you catch the Lawless Nerf Minor game, Ikoxe?
Yes, I catched it a bit. It was a good game, but I saw Sky's a new map. There were some mistakes from each team.
Yeah.
But the draw, I think the draw was good and acceptable for the teams.
Have you got any thoughts on Nerf Minor as a team? Obviously, they're kind of your main opponents at the top of the leaderboard at the moment. Lawless now making their way quite high as well, but have you you looking forward to seeing what might come from them, or do you think they're a little bit overrated?
No, the Nerf Minor dudes are good players. They can shoot. They know how to play the game. At the moment, they are, I think, 1 point above us, but they have 1 game more. So they are our main enemies in the league. But I think we can beat them in the end, and I hope we will end above them. Or we can end with them on the first place with equal points and equal game round difference.
That'll be a tricky little stuff for our director here of Trippin to sort out, but I actually think you do have a little chance there. I actually favoured you from the start, Cox. I actually like Goldinis, how they play. You're getting a bit rough from yesterday's game, but I think that was...
Wait, sorry, is that Biased Caster?
That's not Biased Caster. No.
Biased Caster?
Let's retract that. Okay.
I'm just messing with you.
Shake down. All right, we're having a shakedown.
You're allowed to be biased every now and again.
Just a little bit, aren't we? But
yeah, just a bit. As long as only a little bit of bias.
Only if it's a little bit.
All of these games also, there were quite a few forfeits, right? So that also does impact the week where we have only seen 1 minor game get played, which, I mean, a lot of the teams around that, the teams that received the extra points from the forfeit, they won't be complaining. But I think it is interesting for some of these minor teams, and I mean, maybe you can lend your expertise here, Ikoxe. From what we've seen, right? You're looking at the changes that happened to rosters recently. Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs picking up a couple of players who, from the looks of things, should be able to give the other teams a bit of the run for the money. How are these forfeits impacting the teams around you? And are you too worried about teams that maybe shouldn't deserve these wins collecting them and rising to the top of the league?
Nah, actually no. Like the enemies next week, YOD, but I don't
Hmm.
know if they get a free win. Like nah, it's not affecting us as a team. We just play each game, and in the end we will see where we're standing. About the transfers, like the transfer from Barnes,
Yeah.
they were really good. Like 3 good players. I know. I
Mm.
think I know 3 of them already.
Yeah.
Discount Danny, legends.
Discount was an MVP from last week actually, so
Mm.
could be a tough challenge. But they actually haven't played a game yet. I think in week 5 they have a forfeit because they will be playing. Who was it? It's Visu, who obviously has pulled out of the league.
Yeah.
So they're very untested roster. Maybe they can't work well together, but we did discuss this last week's podcast, so we'll move slightly on from that. But I mean, talking about the actual transfers for this week alone, we have Laburnum Gaming get their coach, which is a Styru, if I'm saying that correct. You have to forgive me. And then from the actual team players, Guardians Alpha have picked up Born, A10 Esports have picked up Tukas. I said that correct. And then Team Invictum have picked up Pred and Zorakai, which obviously you played against yesterday there, Cox. So any sort of hidden gems in there, really, we could say.
I'm looking forward to watch the new coach of LeBron Gaming. To be fair, I don't know her, but I want to see what she can do. From the other transfers, I don't know any of them, so I will not say anything.
You played against Zorakai, especially
Yeah.
yesterday, right, on Team Invictum, and he was putting in some big plays, some big numbers. Do you think this roster change for Invictum is going to be the start that they need to start picking up some points? Because they were kind of lacking towards the bottom of the leaderboard before.
Could be, yeah, but then the rest of the team needs to step up. Because when I played against them, I thought we're just playing against one man.
Right.
He was 17-8, wasn't he? So
Yeah, something crazy.
dramatic plays.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a weird one, right? Where you have a really strong player, you have to try and find that balance between enabling them whilst still not sacrificing too much in terms of resources from the rest of the team, where, like you say, it sometimes feels like a bit of a one-man army trying to get the job done. And I mean, if you go up against these kind of teams, right, obviously it can be hard if that one player is just good enough to keep on killing you. How would you try and overcome a team like that, which is just playing with and around one guy?
Just play a bit passive, I would say, because if he runs in your scopes, he will probably win the gunfight and play with refrags. That's all you probably need to do. Get some camps set up, and then just take this run guy and then try to push onside and just
Lovely.
We saw that yesterday, actually, didn't we? Quite a lot of teams we've seen in Talent League these days are quite aggressive teams. They always peak, and we saw him towards the last 3 of those rounds. He played a lot more passive style, I saw, Cox, and you definitely got him fragged out. All of those rounds, he didn't get any sort of kill. So I think definitely moving forward for other teams, definitely play a bit more passive against Team Invictum these days. It's always, maybe it was just that one-off game where each of the players played really had their off day. So it's just maybe something a little bit of a nibble at their strategy there. But going on to the league news before we actually go over the standings, I kind of touched on it earlier about that Visu have actually forfeited their position in the league. So all the upcoming games against Visu will be forfeited. So for all the teams that haven't played against Visu, this is a 3 points here for the win, actually.
Yeah.
And then the final piece of news, it's a very short piece of news this week compared to last week, but they are actually heading into a 1-week break. So next week, there'll be no games played. So Golu, going on to the week after that, what are the games that will be played in both the minor and major leagues?
So not next week, but the week after, in the Major League, we get to see a couple interesting matchups, actually. You've got QVG taking on Maestra Esports, and that will be on the 23rd, and then following that, one each day for the rest of the week, we'll have Humble Academy taking on Laburnum Gaming. Another interesting matchup with that. I mean, we'll get on to what we think of the potential outcomes to be, but Vivid United versus Machine Soldiers on the Wednesday, Vega Esports taking on Praetorian on the Thursday, and Ultrac Esports take on Loud to close out our week and our games from the Major League. And obviously, every game in the Major League is just before that we get to see a wonderful match from our minors. Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs get that forfeit win over Visu as they're no longer in the league, so Monday will be a little bit of a shorter schedule. The rest of the week is packed, though, with wonderful games for you all to enjoy. YOD Esports take on Goldinis, Atten Esports take on Nerf Minor, Team Invictum take on Team Aura, and Lawless take Team Guardians Alpha on to end the week.
Tough matchups there, actually. Quite a few of those matchups will be very close between each of the teams. I think I'm actually quite interested in these the minor league games, actually.
Yeah.
And obviously we can get Ikoxe here to go over some of them. But Ikoxe, I mean, for your first game, I think you've already said about that you would take out Yod Esports quite easily there. Golu, do you agree, or is there a little bit of a chance here for Yod Esports?
I think, YOD, don't count them out. There's definitely potential there, but if Goldinis, if you have confidence, I'm not going to be the one to say it's misplaced. Ikoxe, is there anything you've seen from YOD that could be a little bit scary, or are you generally just feeling, you know what, this game will be not a freebie, but quite comfortably collected by us? We can kind of take it, not a week off, but a week to focus on other games.
First of all, we played already against YOD in the qualifier. And what we saw there is that they are really strong after a rehost. Like, it was 5-1 for us, then there was a rehost, and then they slapped us. But we won the game, so this time we will watch out that we're not getting slapped after a rehost or a break. We just need to focus over the whole game. And
don't get rehosted early, and then you'll be close to match point by the time it comes in. If you're already at the end, it's fine.
Hope stuff.
You hope so. Well, that's the problem. You got to watch out, right? Because it's not just up to you to control the rehosts. I'm not saying anything, but it isn't uncommon for internets to magically cut out all of a sudden, and mishaps happen. Maybe you kick a computer by accident or something like that. That was the that was the classic.
Put your hands up in rage and accidentally take out your Ethernet cable. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
No.
Oh no, these scissors. You know what? I think you're right. Ultimately, this should be a pretty comfortable game for you guys, but looking at the rest of the lineup, right? Atten, kind of low on that leaderboard, going against Nerf Minor, who are right up at the top. Probably going to be a little bit of a one-sided affair, and I think Nerf Minor can continue to collect up these points. Invictum versus Aura, though. I want to get your take on this, Ikoxe, because both of these teams, kind of struggling so far this season, haven't been able to put up the points that maybe they'd be looking for. Now they get to play each other. And when you have these two teams that want to try and climb to that middle table, avoid the bottom spots, it's always important to get those points because there's that extra swing factor of taking out your close rivals. How do you see this game going? Do you think Invictum with their changes are going to have enough to take Aura out, or do you think just having that more reliable foundation for Aura will be enough?
As I mentioned earlier, like if the rest of Invictus will step up in the game against Aura, they will probably have a good chance against them.
Yeah.
But if it's again like a one-man army, I think Aura will win it, or it could be a draw then.
Draws are a weird one. Because you never quite know how it's going to go, right? And you end up reaching that draw point, and it can have a little bit of what's what I'm looking for here.
What you're on about, either disappointing factor if you're definitely dominating the game, or it's
I think
you want the game to finish, don't you? You're kind of hoping for we're going into OT now. We're used to OT, but no, it ends at 6-6. You're like, we maybe could have won that last round, or we did something on this round that could have easily been won. I mean, we saw a couple games where teams have tended to throw on games, and if you definitely go 6-6 and a draw, you're being like, remember back to round 4 when we should have planted here instead of pushing, or instead of getting the kills here. I think it's that sort of feeling that's hard to explain.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have had a draw on Goldinis, right? And what's kind of the mindset coming out of that draw after you have a result, but you feel like you probably should have won? Do you think you should have won, or do you sometimes feel like, okay, we got the point, that's enough, we can just move on?
Of course, we should win this game. This game was probably a win for us. We throwed 3 rounds in the defense, we throwed some rounds in attack, and we were 6-5 up, and then we lost the last round because we didn't watch the flank. That's why we drawed. And
that's against Nerf Minor, right? Who are also kind of at the top of the lead with you. So a win would have been quite nice, but it doesn't always happen. It makes sense, right? The two teams battling it up in positions 1 and 2, got the draw against each other. It's not quite enough to break the difference. But if you get that rematch, do you feel comfortable you'd be able to take them out?
If we get a rematch, of course. Then we'll play with threats, and then it should be another standing in the end.
What would be the score in a rematch then? If you had to give us a scoreline.
It's interesting.
Well, I would say 7-3, 7-4.
That confident
Because
we every time throwing rounds.
Oh, so so you're saying it should be more one-sided, but you'd give them a couple pity rounds just to keep it close.
Yes, because we are friends.
Throwing salt onto the wound there, are we?
Let's jump across now and let's see. Recap thoughts. Kind of talked about the games, but from the Major League, Pyro, how are you expecting these to play out?
Well, QVG Maestria is going to be a tough game, but I think Maestria, definitely of how they won the game this week, I think they will take out that victory. Laburnum Gaming, Humble Academy, I think Laburnum, I want to see how their new coach does. And from the game we saw yesterday, there was some mistakes they made. That 3 versus 1 clutch that they just whiffed out on when they were all pushing through that. It was the double breach through by Throne, wasn't it? When they were on the Throne site, there was just some things that they could have done better. If they get rid of those mistakes, definitely think that Burnham can take that win. Vivid United Machine Soldiers, that's a much closer game, I think. I'm either going to say
a closer one. I
think a draw for that game, 1-1. Sort of similar to what we see quite a few times that might happen in the Major League. Vega Esports Praetorian, I think this might be Praetorian's game. I think a lot of people might predict that as well, so no offense to any of the teams there, but Praetorian are just on another level this season. And then Ultrac Esports versus Loud. From the way that Loud played the last game I saw them play, which was this week when they took a 2-0 victory, I think they can actually take this victory here, and that is my wrap-up of the Major Leagues. Any sort of differences you would make to mine, Golu?
No, I don't think so. I think it's the only one that's kind of hard to place my finger on would be that first game, the QVG Maestria game, just because both these teams have had a couple hiccups. You know, QVG haven't quite come in with the same sort of ferocity that we would have expected from this roster. And I think that gives the opportunity to a team that you might otherwise not give as much of a chance. But yeah, the rest of the lineup seems legit. I think it's hit the nail on the head there, Pyro, with just how this week, I think there's definitely upset potential, right? And I think the Ultrac Loud is one where you say Loud will take it. Ultrac are a team that shouldn't be counted out. No. I think a couple unideal results have set this team back, but the games haven't looked lost. They don't look like they don't know what they're doing. It just they haven't quite found their rhythm yet. And I think, again, you just need a couple good games, and I think Loud are a team who could drop some maps.
Yeah, I like how you're thinking that. It was definitely a couple of rounds. If they get it sorted out, it definitely could be a lot closer. I was teetering on the edge of a win or a draw there, so I'm glad you brought that up there, Golu. I think the only thing we've got left really is to have a look at the standings and then a few more questions that we might have towards Ikoxe. So, standings for the minors. Obviously, we got Nerf Miner and Goldinis towards the top of the board. They've both had brilliant seasons. Lawless and Yod and Guardians Alpha wrapping up the rest of the top 5 and the top half of that leaderboard. Then going down, we got Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs, who is a new team coming in, who just came in last week, so obviously taking up the record of someone else, and they've still yet to prove themselves, so not sure where they will finish quite yet, Golu. Invictum, Aura, A10 and Visu rounding out towards the bottom end. Back onto the Major League now. For towards the top we have Praetorian, storming out from the lead and victory. Had such a good start to this season. Loud is also up there in second position. And then Humble Academy, QVG and Vivid from 3rd to 5th, all on the same amount of points with that 2 wins and 2 losses. So a decent start to the win. They've got that 50-50 percentage. Probably some of the matches might have gone in their favour. It's sort of hard to bring out these ones. Laburnum Gaming, Machine Soldiers, Maestria, Ultrac and Vega bring out the bottom 5, all on similar sort of points. Only really difference is when you have Machine Soldiers and Laburnum Gaming with those 2 draws. Obviously each playing each other, both drawing their last game they played, so it's a lot closer, I think, in the Major Leagues this season.
Yeah, especially with how you're seeing some of these teams evolve, right? There's a couple teams all with, like you say, 3 of them, 2 wins, 2 losses.
Yeah.
Just having those wins is so big, because if you draw games, you get that 1 point. 2 draws, is not more points than a win and a loss. So you, in a kind of strange way, if you can just have really good days where you just win 2-0, that secures you at least a net set of points, which will actually have a really high impact in the standings as the season evolves. But I think for some of these teams, Laburnum Gaming and Machine Soldiers specifically, I think both of these teams have the potential to take out some of the teams around them, some of the teams above them. And if they can just consistently collect points, whether that be wins or draws, I think we'll see them rise up. But Ikoxe, any teams across either standing, they just stand out to you as being a little bit out of place. Maybe you'd have thought they'd be higher, or maybe you think they're a little bit overrated. Maybe you think they should be lower down in the standings.
In the minor league, like Team Aura is way too low. I thought they would place higher this season. And in the major league, I don't know, like Laburnum Gaming on the 6th place, they could be higher, to be fair. And maybe Alt-Rec Esports could be higher too.
Is there anyone that you're surprised to see so high that you would have thought they'd be towards the lower end of the table, or do you think everyone?
Yeah, QBG.
That's interesting.
Because I heard that they are struggling with their lineup, so it surprised me that they're on the 4th place at the moment.
Yeah, despite some potential problems they're running into, still kind of able to find something that works. I mean, do you think that will hold up? Do you think as other teams around them get a little bit more comfortable with potential changes or just find their groove, do you think QBG is a team that will start to slip down? Or do you think if they've put a sort of solution to their issues, maybe they can keep that going through the season?
I would say it could be both sides. They could go up higher or they could go down lower. Because they need to play Praetorian, I think, and Laburnum Gaming.
Yeah.
And I think that these two teams are, for a new lineup, really hard to face.
It's all about having the good days, isn't it? It's all about getting the wins, as you said earlier, Golu. If you draw, you're not going to really get enough points. So if you have a really good day, it obviously can set apart. Especially if we seem like Laburnum Gaming could have an off day. We've seen it before, so it could happen again. That's what I'm more worried about with these teams, is if you have that sort of poor performance day, then it definitely could change the entire league up, which is why I like these best out of 2s here. Yeah. But going on to another question here, Ikoxe, is there any sort of player from the minor leagues that you would wish was on your team who would fit into your roster quite well?
I would say Danny in my roster, because I would go and let him play hearts up the whole time. I don't know a lot of players from the minor league, so I just stick with Dan.
Keep what you got and just kind of work around with the extra guy like that. You say not too aware of the other players around the minor league. I take it you're expecting to get that promotion spot up to the major league. Is that cool? You're expecting to hit the playoffs as well?
Yes, that's what we want to. We want to get in major league and we want to get in the Champions Series.
Let's say that happens, right? You're currently towards the top of the standings. You've got some games ahead against teams that, looking at the leaderboards, looking at results, you're expected to have the upper hand going into. You're in the championship. Are there any teams, or you're in the major, what teams are you a little bit afraid of within that major league? What teams are you hoping to avoid in your run through that champions bracket?
Laburnum Gaming is one of the teams, because I know everyone of the team and I hate to play against friends.
Yeah.
And the second team is PRT, Praetorian, because they are good. They play good, they know how to play the shit game, and yeah.
And then what are the freebie games then? What teams in the major are you looking at? You're licking your lips. You know that you can take them out any day of the week. A quick 2-0, and you get to move on to the next round.
I would say Vega Esports and I don't know, Trekking and this stuff.
The bottom two, then we're going a bit safer here.
Well, that makes sense, right? You just want to take the easy options off the table, right? You collect up the wins, and I mean, you look at teams that might potentially be demoting down to the minor league anyway, so it makes sense, right? You want to take out the teams that you're going to be replacing anyway. Give us your major league or minor league hot take.
Who will fall down and who will get up? Okay, I would say enough minors and us will get in the major series. And from the major, I don't know. I think Vega and the other team, I don't know, to be fair. It's at the moment way too hard to say it.
But you think Vega's going to be the one that gets the cut?
If they play like they played against Laburnum Gaming, yes.
I think it's very tough though, because you have got 3 teams who are on 3 points that have all won 1 games. As we said before, winning 1 game is a massive deal. So I think it's hard. There is also Maestria, who is also towards that bottom end, and you have got teams like Machine Soldiers who are starting to slip round some of the times. We did see it quite a bit. They do have potential to lose a couple of rounds, all of these teams. So as you said, it could go any way, but I wouldn't count Vega out quite yet. I think come back in like 2-3 weeks and maybe we could predict a lot closer and with more accuracy, I think.
It's strange though, right? Because Vega's win is against QVG. QVG also lost to Humble. But then they're beating other teams around them that you would expect. I don't know. It's a bit strange with some of these games, the way that they're playing out. And I think Vega getting that win over QVG is unexpected. If they don't, they're definitely out, I think. Because you're looking at the rest of the games that they've played. They've lost to teams that kind of around them in the standings, right? They lost... where is it? Here we are. Vega lost to LFO, now Laburnum Gaming, they're a middle of the standings team for the time being. They've lost to 2 of the teams kind of lower on the standings. They still have their game against Ultrac to play, but Ultrac, team that, again, I personally think have had some pretty close games. I think Ultrac are a better team than Vega. Maestra, are they the next ones on the chopping block? If you're looking at the way this is going, which of the other 2 teams at the bottom do you think are staying lower? We're not allowing you to sit on the fence here, Ikoxe. Which one's going down? Which is it?
Oh,
Guaranteed.
oh man, that's hard to say, but I don't know. Then I need to say Ultrac, and I can't say Maestria because I did not see anything from them till now. And like Machine Soldiers, we get higher, Labyrinth Gaming too, so Vivid is the only one who I can.
Thank you for your take on that. We'll have to see if that is indeed how it plays out as the season goes on. But we've got your guesses there.
I don't think I've got any more questions for you, Ikoxe. Is there any questions you'd have for us, maybe?
Yeah, I have one question. It's the name of our player is Brum Barshi.
Oh, okay. Is this
not Brum?
Is this towards me?
Yeah,
it's to both of us. It's to both of us. And the reason for this is that I wasn't sure it was pronounced, so I just cut it short. And I think you just started calling it short because I started calling it short.
Yeah,
but I don't think I messed up. So Brumbarshi.
Yeah, like in German it's Brumberchi, but we know that you guys don't have this letter, so just say Brumbarshi. It's okay for him.
Brum what? Did you say Brum brioche? Like the type of like the bread?
No.
Brum brioche.
Brumberchi.
Bumbriachi.
Berchi.
Berchi. Like
beer.
beer. Like beer in German, it's beer.
Interesting. Bierki. Lovely stuff.
Yeah,
well, I'm not gonna bully. This is another thing to make fun of Pyro for not being able to pronounce. So thank you for that. And that is the highlight of my day every day. And I'm sure you'll get to see it later on, Pyro. I'll treat you to more bullying later. Any closing thoughts on the league or anything else really? Anything you'd like to add?
Yes. The player from the Burn Gaming, Sarok, should stop doing school the whole day and should start playing ranked again. Thank you.
What can you learn in school that you can't learn in Siege? Maths. That's what counting your kills are for. English, reading abilities. You've got your comprehension as part of that as well. You got history. You have to figure out what happened in the last round. You got geography. You better know your call out, so you're going to be lost as hell. Art, the art of war. It's got everything.
Painting the walls with blood. And explosions, so a bit of science in there as well.
Yeah, you even got your science. That is going to be it for the second episode of Behind the Talent podcast. I've been Golin Molu and joined by Pyro. Thank you so much for joining us for this one, Ikoxe. It's been very interesting to be able to get your takes on some of these teams or players in the leagues and where you think they might end up, as well as the expectations for yourselves. And, yes, we will catch you all next week with the third episode. But until then, enjoy the Talent League games that are being played and have a good week.